He left for a quiet hiking trip, expecting peace. But when he checked his home camera, he saw a full-blown HOA party happening in his backyard, without permission. What do you do when your worst neighbor turns your private pool into a public event? If you're Miles Carter, you don't get mad. You get technical. This is the story of how one quiet engineer used a robotic shark to teach a neighborhood what boundaries really mean. In the quiet hills of Sedona, Arizona, where red rocks kissed the sky and the heat hummed softly over polished stucco homes, Miles Carter lived alone, a robotics engineer by profession and by passion. Miles was the kind of man who chose silence over small talk and precision over pretense. His home was his refuge, equipped with motion sensors, a solar-powered security system, and a backyard pool that had never seen more than one guest at a time. So, when he left for a long-awaited solo hiking trip in the high desert, a chance to unplug from the noise and restore the calm that had been slowly fraying after years of work, he had every reason to believe his home would remain untouched. He was wrong. It started with a ping, then three more. Miles, seated on a rock plateau with no cell signal hours before, suddenly saw his phone light up with security alerts. Curious, then uneasy. He opened the camera feed from his backyard. What he saw nearly made him drop the phone. There were people, dozens of them. His quiet pool, untouched since spring, was overrun with party guests. A DJ booth thumped bass over the speakers. Kids screamed. Plastic cups floated in the water. Someone was manning a margarita station. A dog whose owner he did not know chased a beach ball into his garden, and there she was. Gretchen Wallis, self-proclaimed HOA president, local tyrant. The same woman who once fined Miles for the non-beige shade of his umbrella and sent him a warning letter over the unauthorized presence of a ceramic turtle near his walkway. Now she stood poolside, in a garish sun hat, a clipboard in one hand and a margarita in the other, directing the chaos like a general. She had broken the lock on his side gate with a rake. She had opened his pool shed. She had turned his home into the site of the HOA summer mixer without ever asking. Miles called the sheriff's office. A highway accident had tied up all units. "We'll get there when we can," the dispatcher said. It wasn't soon enough. He sat there on a rock, staring at the feed, helpless and stunned. It wasn't just the invasion, it was the complete erasure of boundaries. He was being treated not as a neighbor, but as a resource, a background prop in someone else's idea of community. But Miles was not the type to yell. He was the type to plan. When he returned home that night, he didn't confront Gretchen. He cleaned up. He reviewed every second of footage. He logged every time-stamped moment. He backed it up 3 different ways. Then he walked into his garage. Project Finback had started as a playful design, a robotic pool companion meant to delight his nephew on visits. It had a sleek motor, sensors to follow movement, and a cute plastic dorsal fin. Now, it needed a new purpose. He modified the tracking system. He upgraded the motor. He programmed a series of low-frequency sounds, growls, rumbles designed to echo through the water. Then he repainted the dorsal fin matte black, just a little too sharp to be toy-like. He renamed the bot Finley. Phase 2 bait. He posted to social media, showing himself heading out for another trip, booked an Uber under a fake name. Let the house sit dark and quiet. 2 days later, they returned, another party, bigger than before. This time, they brought speakers. They set up folding tables and raffles. Gretchen welcomed guests with a microphone and gave a speech about shared neighborhood values. Someone installed a bounce house. Someone else hung string lights over the pool. From his home office, hidden behind mirrored windows, Miles watched. He waited. And when the party reached full swing, he deployed Finley. The fin cut through the water with startling speed. The growls vibrated beneath the surface, subtle, but primal. The reaction was instant. Screams, splashing. A teenager dove onto a pool float and paddled away. Someone shouted "shark" and slipped on the wet deck. Gretchen stumbled backward and fell into a lounge chair. Margarita sloshing down her front. Guests panicked. Chaos bloomed. And then, perfectly timed, the local sheriff pulled up. Miles had filed a formal trespassing complaint this time. He'd sent footage, photos, legal notices. An officer approached Gretchen as she tried to regain composure. "Ma'am," he said, "do you have written permission to be here?" She floundered. She invoked community space, cited informal approvals, blamed miscommunication. The officer didn't buy it. Neither did the neighbors. Because what Gretchen didn't realize was that this time, Miles had shared the truth with video, and the video went viral. A clip of Gretchen yelling, "It's tracking us," as Finley's fin moved in perfect pursuit, was reposted to a local HOA parody group. The caption, "Karen versus Finley Dawn of Splash Justice." It spread like wildfire. Neighbors who'd never spoken to Miles now nodded when they passed. Someone left a bottle of wine with a note. "You did what we've all dreamed of." But Gretchen wasn't finished. At 3:08 on a Thursday, Miles's phone buzzed again. A motion alert. Gretchen was back with bolt cutters. He activated the lights. Then the voice. "You are trespassing. Law enforcement has been notified." She froze. Sirens wailed. The patrol car arrived faster this time, caught red-handed. Gretchen had no more speeches. Just silence as she was escorted off the property. Within the month, she was stripped of all HOA authority. A formal vote banned her from any leadership roles. Lawsuits followed: trespassing, property damage, unauthorized entry. 3 weeks later, her house was listed for sale. No goodbye parties. No flyers. Just silence. As for Miles, he didn't throw a celebration. He added a floating turtle to the pool. He swam laps. He printed a t-shirt that said "Splash Justice" and hung it in his garage next to Finley's docking station. He smiled. Not because he'd won, but because his boundaries had been restored. Some people fight with noise, some with drama. Miles Carter fought with precision, planning, and a robotic shark. And in the end, it worked.